Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf Yomi, Menachos Daf Kuf Dalet. We begin at the Mishnah, which is 9 lines from the top of the Yom. It says the Mishnah, Ein misnadvin lug shnayim v'chamisha. So if a fellow sets aside wine to be used for nesachim, for pouring on the Mizbeach, either to accompany a carbon or even as a separate, independent donation, as we'll see later in the Gemara, based on a pasuk, one can actually donate wine for the Mizbeach, but he has to do so in a very specific, using a very specific quantity. So you can't just donate random amounts. The amount has to correspond to the amount of wine which typically accompanies a carbon. Now we know that there are 3 levels, 3 categories, 3 types of nesachim with respect to different types of carbonos. So you have a sheep, a keves, which is typically accompanied by 3 lug of wine. You have an ayil, a ram, 4 lug, a par, a cow, 6. So the amount that you'll donate here has to correspond to those very specific numbers. Therefore, says the Mishnah, Ein misnadrin lug, you can't give a lug, you can originate your own amount, your own quantity, or shnayim or 2, v'chamisha or 5, aval, you could donate misnadrin, shloisha, v'arba v'shisha, 3, 4, or 6, which correspond to those predetermined quantities. Umishisha olamala, or from 6 onward. Why? Because all numbers above 6 are divisible with respect to these predetermined quantities. For instance, says Rashi, 6, that's good for a par. 7, you could split it 3 and 4. 3 for the keves, 4 for the ayil. 8, split into 2 times 4, 2 rams. 9, you have 6 for the par, 3 for the keves. 10, par and ayil, 6 and 4, on and on, etc., etc. But kach lo'olam, says Rashi, it goes on indefinitely. Okay, so 1, 2, or 5 are invalid numbers. 3, 4, 6, and onward are perfectly valid. Now comes an interesting question. So whatever he donates, whatever he sets aside, whatever he promises to give, is it meant to be bound to each other? Are they connected to each other as one package, or could you split them? Are they established and bound to each other as one package, as one unit? Or perhaps nesachim do not have to be bound together. What's the case? Kigoin, for instance, the Isi Chamisha. Okay, so he has 5 log, which is an incomplete amount, as we learn in the Mishnah. So it's not really a number that can be implemented, it can be offered. So what do we do? If the nesachim aren't really bound to each other, okay, so here's a solution. You have 5, take 4 out of the 5, which is a valid number, 4 is valid, be makrivit, and the remainder, the extra lug, hang on to it, use it as a nadava, put it into the public, fund to use as for karbanis. Mashach or makr, he pulls away and he's makr arba minai 4 out of the 5. The chazilai, which are suitable for an ayil, so it's a valid number, valid amount. And the remainder have an nadava. It's considered a nadava. Rashi says you transfer it to money and you use it for karbanis, or you take the actual lug itself and you attach it to a karban tamid. Okay. So that works because they're divisible. You can separate them. They're not bound to each other as one package. However, if you take on the other approach, they're established as one unit. The 5 that you donated are bound to each other as one indivisible unit, then you can't do this. You can't split them apart. Rather, you have to wait until you get another lug, which gets you to number 6, and then 6 being a valid number works. Until you fill them up, you complete the number, you can't actually do it. You can't bring it. So what's the answer to this question? Let me bring you a raya from a Mishnah, actually in Menachos Shkalim, which speaks about those chests, those deposit boxes where they would throw in the extra monies from various karbanis, which were meant for nadava. Eventually, that would be directed and used for purchase of public karbanis, oilas, donations. We have different types of leftover monies. Tashma, shisha, lunadava. There were 6 in total. 6 of these chests. Ramina, and the question was, what do they correspond to? What's the point of having 6? Keneged me. The answer is each one contained a unique brand of leftover money. Keneged meiser chatat, leftover chatas money, or meiser asham, meiser asha money, meiser asham nazar, nazir leftover nazir's asham, meiser leftover asham mitzayra, meiser kin leftover birds, or meiser mechas chayte. Okay. So that's 6. Now, if it is so, then in our scenario, you can split apart the 5, you can take 4 and bring it as a sachim, and the extra 1 will be left over for nadava. That should require its own chest, its own pushka. They should establish another chest. It was shaped like a shefer, narrow on top and wide on bottom, so the money would just go in without coming out. Keneged moisar nesachim. Another shefer to contain the leftover nesachim. If it's true that you can do that. Says the Gemara, no, you know what? Even if the leftover of this wine will be considered nadava, we can understand why they didn't need another shayfer for this. Because there was another easy alternative. Hanach l'ndavas tzibur azli. Those that we mentioned a minute ago, the leftover chatas money, all that is meant for a public nadava. So the only way is to put it into this pushka. Hani shchich, as opposed to wine, it's a very common commodity in the Beis HaMikdash. There are karbanis coming all the time, which for the most part need nesachim. You have leftover wine, gesundheit, hold on to it for another minute. There's another fellow coming in, he can use it. Pair it up with his wine, and then you got yourself a carbon. Efshar the mitzdarf, you can combine the mar, this fellow's material, or the mar, and the other fellow's wine, but they're with each other. Rekarbi and offer them as back. You don't have to channel it through this whole extensive banking system. Rabba Tashma says, Rabbi, I want to resolve this question. Whether the case of the 5 lugan, which you can't proceed with them as is, can you split them apart, or do you have to wait until you have a qualifying number? Rabba Tashma, I have a raya, my brisa, which is based on the pasuk by the Nesachim, and it says, Kala Ezrach Yasakacha, any citizen, the word Ezrach is an extra word. Ezrach malamed shemisnad v'nesachim. A fellow can donate wine as a separate offering, even without a korban. Okay, what's the valid amount? How much? Shloishes lugan, 3 lug. Because, as Rashi says, that's the smallest amount of nesachim by a keves. Okay, so that's at a minimum 3. Umanayishim ratza lo hosif yosef. What if he wants to add? Can he? Yeah, Talmud yeah, it tells you can add. Yochel Yichai is going to go below 3? No, Talmud Kacha, it's absolute. Now, what does it mean? He wants to add. Ma Yosef, Ilay Marbo Vishisha, he wants to go from 3 to 4, which is a perfectly valid number, or Vishisha, 6, which again is a perfect... Why do we need a special discussion for that? I mean, just as he can bring 3, which corresponds to the keves, likewise 4 to the ayil, shisha to... These are valid numbers, as we discussed in the Mishnah. Maishna, shloisha, what's unique about 3? The chazul, the keves, because they're suitable for a keves. Well, the same with 4 and 6, correspondingly. Arba v'shisha nami, right? Respectively, they're suitable for their respective karbanis. Nami, chazul, la'ayil, that's the 4, or par, that's the 6. El-lav, it must be, he's trying to add and come to a number which isn't really a full number. El-lav chamisha. The Torah is allowing him to add to 5. Ushmamina, we learn from here, ein kaval nesachim, shmamina, that the nesachim are not bound to each other. Otherwise, how could you donate 5? It's not 3, it's not 4, it's not 6. Apparently, because from that 5, he'll remove 4 and be makravit, and the 5th one will be nadava, be the extra leftovers as a donation. So we prove from here that this system works. Okay, so again, the question was, if it's 3, 6, 4, or 6, no problem. What if it's 5, which is sort of an in-between number? Do you have to wait until you get the 6 to get a complete package? Or do you say, no, it's not indivisible, just divide it, split it up, take what you can use now, take 4, and the 5th you'll leave for the nadava. And the answer is you could. That's based on this price. Amr Rav Ashi, hold it. V'anan loitnan hachi. Look at our Mishnah. It doesn't seem to be saying this. We learn ein misnadran lug, right? You can't do one lug, shnaim or two, v'chamisha or five. These aren't really valid numbers, and the Mishnah sort of bundles them together. 5 is just as bad as 1. Ktani chamisha dumi de shnaim. 5 is just as bad as 2 or 1. Ma shnaim lechozu klal. Just like you agree that 2 doesn't work for anything. Right? It's not a practical amount. Av chamisha namid lechozu klal. Likewise, 5 is in limbo. Can't be used at all until you get to 6. Apparently, you can't split it up. No, me there. How can you prove from one number to the other? Each one has its own situation. Ha kadisa. Each one has its own status. You're right. 1 cannot be used as is. Neither can 2. But 5, you can take 4 and use it as 4, and then the 5th one you will send to the Nava. Abaye. Continues Abaye. Imtim tzalaymar. So regarding this question of keva or not keva, imtim tzalaymar ein keva l'nesachim. If you'll take the approach that the nesachim are not really bound to each other, you're free to divide them. Okay. Ein keva l'nesachim. Okay. So then the answer is pretty clear, which means to say anything beyond 2, right, 3, 4, 5, you can just bring it and divide it as you wish. They're not bound to each other, and there's no issue. However, suppose the nesachim that you're donating are considered one indivisible package. You can't just divert them and split them up as you wish. Now, adasara, if that's the case, so any number until 10, pshitali, I know what to do with it. It's pretty clear to me. Why? Says Rashi on the second to the bottom line. Adasara pshitali, says Rashi, the lug, 1 lug, that doesn't work at all. Ushnayim doesn't work at all. V'chamisha 5 also is a non-starter. Legamri lekarver, you can't use them. Adam malu until you get them to the proper amount. Shalish, what about 3? Lekevas chazu. That's a perfect number. It's good for a keves. V'dalet 4, la'ayil for an ayil. V'shisha 6 for the par. V'shiva, what about 7? You split it between the keves and the ayil, 3 and 4. 8, shnei elam, 2 elam. 9 is a par and a keves, 6 and 3. Yud 10 is the par of l'ayil, that's 6 and 4. So we have our numbers pretty much lined up. Now comes the tricky part. Achad asam ribaye. We turn to Talmud Bavli. What about number 11? He donates 11. Now we're not sure what he had in mind. We're not sure how to proceed. How would you treat this case? Gavra, the man who donated it, l'shnei parim kamachavin, we assume certainly that he's trying to do 2 sets of 6, 2 parim, because he's on the par track, right? And therefore, until you get to 12, you can't do anything. Until you complete the number 12, you fill it up like karma, you can't do anything with it. Or then what you can say, who's to say 2 cows? The reason why he donated 11 is because he wants l'shnei elam b'keves echad kamachavin. He's intending on offering a number which corresponds to 2 rams, 2 times 4, and 1 keves, which is 3. Total of 11, perfect number. Shall we say that a person sort of divides his donation like that? Trei michad mina. 2 of this type of animal, the rams, mechad mina, and another one of the other type, the sheep. Do we posit that that's what he had in mind? He's mixing up different types? Or shall we say, no, he's probably more on the consistent track, and he probably wants to do 2 of the same, 2 times 6 for the cow, and he has to wait until he gets another one to get him to the total of 12. What's the halacha? Take it, we'll leave it unresolved. Okay, so again, let's review the Mishnah and the Gemara. There are very finite numbers that have to be applied when it comes to donating the nesachim. It can be either 3, 4, or 6, corresponding to the various nesachim that come along with those animals. 1, 2, and 5 don't really work. We learned that you can donate nesachim on their own, but again, provided that they work with the numbers. What if it's an in-between number? So the Gemara proved that it works because you can take the qualifying number, separate it, then the leftover you send to Nadava, and you direct it to Mizbeach in that way. Now, an interesting question of whether a person wants to split up, between different types, or wants to stay on the same track. Teiku. Okay, so continuing on this line, says the Mishnah, Misnad and Shemen, a person can donate yayin, wine on its own. even without a carbon. You can't donate oil on its own. That's his sheet. Just as you can donate wine without a carbon, the same with oil. Rashi says, how do you do it? So you do kamitza on the shemen, you scoop out a little oil, you makter that little bit, and the rest the kohanim will eat. What's the machlokes about? Amar b'tarfan. Let me tell you why shemen can also fly. Look, just as we find by wine, shu b'chayva, you can bring wine as an obligatory offering, right, with a carbon. You can donate it on its own, as we learned a minute ago from the word ezrach. You just bring a bottle of wine. We'll assume the same with the other liquid, oil, av shemen, shu b'chayva, just as it comes as a chayva with a mincha. You can donate it independently of a mincha. Amar Rekiva, no, you can't compare it. Just because wine has that ability, that's because wine, even when it comes, with a mincha, with a carbon, it's offered independently. It's not mixed together, right? It stands alone. It's poured separately on the mizbeach, so it's a separate entity. Even when it's brought together with the chayva, with the menachos nesachim, with the carbon, it's processed separately. So it makes sense that you can donate it separately as well. Tomer b'shemen, as opposed to oil, which never comes alone. It's always mixed in with a mincha. When you bring it as a chayva, it's not brought separately. It's mixed in. So you never find oil coming separately. So why would you think donate oil on its own? Okay, so that's the machlokes. Can two people partner in a carbon? Two individuals cannot partner, cannot bring in a isarin, which is the amount of flour, which is, by the way, about 43 kibbetz, huge amount of flour. You cannot donate it together. One person per mincha. Aval misnad oil v'shlamim v'oif. You can donate an oil together. Shlam, even a bird. Afilu predachs, even one bird. You can bring as a partnership. Amar Rava. V'divish name nilmoid. Based on both opinions, Rabbi Kiva and Rabbi Tarfon, we can learn that misnadev adam minchas nesachim b'chol yom. Typically, a minchas nesachim accompanies a carbon. A person could choose to donate a minchas nesachim independent of a carbon every day as a separate donation. Says the Gemara Pshita, right? Well, obviously, the machlokes in the Mishnah, the discussion revolves around oil, but if it's a proper minchas nesachim mixed with the flour and oil and all that, why not? Well, the Tema says the Gemara, perhaps I would think you can't. Perhaps there's no allowance for that, unless it's with a carbon. Sure, you can bring a mincha, but one of those specific 5 types, those varieties discussed in the pasuk, who says you can bring a minchas nesachim, a new type? Mal the Tema, perhaps minchas nedava, goli barachmana, hanichamisha menachos in tefillah. When it comes to donating a mincha, the Torah lists, presents 5 varieties: soiles, right? Machvas, marcheshes, mafetaner, chalas, and rekikin, right? Tefillah, perhaps you can add another variety to mashmalon. The answer is Hanili b'stama. Those 5 varieties apply when you donated an undefined, unspecified mincha. You pledge to bring a mincha. You can choose one of those 5. Avalicha the parish, but if he specified, I want to bring a minchas nesachim, parish, then fine. If he specified, fine. Ein shnayim misnad v'may taima. 2 people can donate 1 animal, but not 1 mincha. Why? Is it because by mincha it says takriv, which is singular, lashon yachid? 1 mincha, 1 owner. Well, by the animals as well, we find lashon yachid. Oilanami, there as well. Haksiv yakriv, he will bring. So who said you can partner? Ella oila my taima. No, the reason why 2 people can partner with an oila because it also refers to plural. Tichsiv loy say chem, yours. Well, mincha nami, haksiv by mincha as well. You find the mincha say chem, yours. So what's the difference? Because by a mincha we find unique language. The Torah refers to a nefesh, a soul, a spirit that will donate a mincha. From here we learn that it has to be brought by 1 person. You can't split a nefesh into 2. How can you find the same in a brayso? Rabbi teaches us that when it comes to other karbanos, 2 people can partner. Asher yakriv karbana l'chol nidrayhem. So we learn from there, Hakoil boim b'shutfus. All types of donated animals can be brought as in a partnership. The only exception is mincha, which is separate from the bunch. Why shenamar nefesh? Because nefesh is cited by the mincha. Amar Yitzchak, on this topic of nefesh, what's the correlation? What's the connection between mincha and nefesh? It comes from the soul. It's a poor man donating his essence. He's got nothing to do. He's giving away his last penny as a show of goodwill and love to Hashem. Amar Yitzchak, bipnei man ishtanis. Mincha. Why is a mincha so different in terms of the way the Torah refers to it? Shnam bar nefesh, where the Torah calls it, refers to it as a nefesh, which we makar b'kar mincha. What's the connection between nefesh and a mincha? Amar Kadosh Baruch Hashem is declaring his appreciation, so to speak, for the poor man's efforts, going above and beyond the societal norms. He's not. Rebelski once explained the Gemara. He says, an ordinary person, part of the regular, financial strata, he feels sometimes that social pressure, at the external expectation that pushes him to bring a donation. But there's no expectation, he has no standards to meet. He has nobody to impress. It's not expected of him. So when he brings a korban, he brings an adava, it's from within. It's genuine, it's real, it's sincere, it's his nefesh. And that's why Hashem says, who's accustomed to bring a mincha, a poor man's offering? That's an ani, a poor man, mal ani olav. Hashem says, I consider it upon him, as if he sacrificed his own soul to me. It's his essence. Once again, why is a mincha different? We find an interesting phenomenon. By mincha unfound by other karbanos, which are pretty much standard procedure. Here it's this type and the other type, different variations, 5 types of tikkun, of oil, related menachos. Some are fried, some are mixed with. Why? Halal, chamisha min tikkun, all these 5 variations. So he says it's a mashal. Let me give you an analogy. A mashal, a melech masar adam, like a regular king. Sha'asal yahavei suda. So his dear friend prepared for him a feast. And he knows, and the king knows that this man can't really afford much. Shuani is a poor man. So the king says, you know what? Please don't splurge. Just whatever you make, do it with your full heart. He says to Maseli, min chamisha min, please, prepare for me 5 different fries, different varieties of frying, meaning basic material, but just put in that effort to show me that I should have anah from you, that they should favor my eyes. So even the most basic ingredients can be enhanced, can be varietized. It's about the effort, it's about the preparation, which shows dearness and engenders friendship. Likewise, the mincha of an ani, he prepares it in his best way, his preferred way to Hashem, that brings his nefesh close to Hashem. Continues the Mishnah. New parak, last parak in the Masechta, Hashem. So a fellow pledges an isarein. Okay, so it's very simple, straightforward mincha. One mincha for one isarein for one mincha. Israel nice. He pledged 2, plural. He didn't say the word 2, he said plural. So what is it, 2 or 2 million? Yavi shnayim. He need not being more than 2. We assume, the smallest number. A person wouldn't want to get himself involved in confusing configurations. If he would mean more, he would say it. So presumably when he says Israel, he meant the minimum plural, which is 2. Now, suppose Pirashti, he says, I did specify a number, I can't remember whether it was 2 or 45. I'm not sure how many we're going to fit into this mincha. So we know the maximum is 60 sarin per mincha. So either way is good. He brings 60. If he owes it, fine. Otherwise, Rashi says, he specifies the conditions. He says, whatever I don't have to, is an adav as a donation. But if he brings 60, he's covered. Rashi says, a mincha yechidis will not be ever more than 60, as we learned the other day. So that's the maximum. Harei la mincha. So that was in terms of quality. What about the type of mincha? He pledges a mincha without specifying which type. You have a year to choose whichever one you want. Rabbi Omer, unspecified. Then you have to bring the minchas hasoilis, which is the first one that the Torah refers to. Rabbi Omer yavi minchas hasoilis. Shimir chedesh menachos. That's the one that stands out. I'm going to explain exactly what this means. If he says, I'm bringing a mincha, that's one. Or he says, min ha-mincha, a type of mincha. Again, that's one type. Yavi yachas, he brings one. What if he says menachos, plural? Or he says, min menachos. A type of menachos. Then in these cases, yavi shtayim, he must bring, two of the same type, right? Whatever type he chooses, two of them. What about pirashti? He says, I specified which type, I just don't remember. Any idea? Is a man pirashti? In this way, the only way to cover his tracks is to bring all five. Yavi chamishtam. Pirashti mincha shel esroinim. In this case, he specified a certain amount, a certain number of isarins to be brought together in the same bowl. He specified in the same bowl, X amount of isarinis. He can't remember which number he cited. V'eni idea, kama pirashti. I'm not sure which number I mentioned. Kama pirashti. So again, Yavi Shishim Yisar brings 60 together and he's covered. Rabbi Omer, no. That's not a proper solution, because suppose he's supposed to bring, he pledged 32, you can't put 33. 32 has a certain format. You can't modify that. So the only way to cover his pledge is to bring all variations, all possibilities, from the number 1 in a kli all the way to 60. He's got to bring a kli of 1, a kli of 2, a kli of 3, which gets you to 1,830 in total. Rabbi Omer Yavi Menachos Shel Yisroel has to be separate menachos, each one containing Yisroelis, from the number 1 all the way to number 6, Me'echad Vashish. So the beginning of the Mishnah, we spoke about a fellow who promised an Yisroel. He brings one, Pshita, obviously. What's the point of mentioning? Yisroelis Yavishtayim Yisrichel. The next point was the main thing. Yisroelis means 2. Well, again, Hanami Pshita, again, that's obvious. Because obviously 2 is 2. Yisroelis is 2. Hanami Pshita. The answer is no. Miut Yisroelis Shtayim Yisrichel. The Mishnah did have to point that out. That we look at the minimum of plural. He's not obligated to bring, anything beyond 2. Because when he pledged without specifying a number, plural means 2. The Pharisee Yisrael says it's a derech of a person not to bring himself to a situation of uncertainty and a suffix. So when he said Yisroelis without adding a number, presumably it meant 2. Miut Yisroelis Shtayim Yisrichel. Pirashti ve'eni yodea kama pirashti yavi shishim yisar. He's not sure which number he cited. He brings 60, and that covers him. So only 60? But if you recall, a minute ago, Rebbe said you can't get away with 60. You have to bring 1830. So Mantana, who's the author? Who's the Shita reflected in the beginning of the Mishnah, which lets him get away with 60? Amar Chizkiah, the Leiki Rebbe. It's not like Rebbe. The Rebbe, because going to Rebbe, he's stuck for 1,830. The Rebbe Amar Yavi Menachos Shel Yisroelis Me'echad Shishim. He says he's got to make separate menachos, separate kalim, from 1 to 60. Here as well. Rabbi Yechon Amar, he says, no, I feel Temi Rebbe. This clause of the Mishnah is consistent even with Rebbe. It's a different case. You see, in the latter part of the Mishnah, Rebbe was referring to a fellow who was kevea b'kli. He mentioned how much is going to fit into the kli. That's how he's going to package it. So you can't package it differently than he promised. So inevitably he has to bring 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4. In the first part of the Mishnah, he didn't specify, I'm going to fit this in a kli. He promised 30 yisarin. right? He didn't say, I'm going to put all 30 in the same. So, even if it was 30, right? He doesn't remember, but even if it was 30, he's not bound to that format, to that package. Meaning, if he puts 30, 31, he's still okay. So this halacha follows even Rebbe, because it's a different case. Rabbi Yochanan was speaking that he explained Pirashti. I specified a number, yeah, but I didn't package them as one. Pirashti Yisroinis, I mentioned a number of Yisroinis. I did not bind them to a kli. The Bach adds B'kli Echon to one kli. So in this case, what's the solution? The Maisi Shitin Isroin is B'Shitin Mani. So in this case, it gets away easy, relatively easy. He has to bring 60 Isarin, just in case. But there's no redundancy. He can bring 60 separate Menachos. One Isarin per Kli. Because the packaging is not a factor. As long as he ends up bringing the right amount, even if that's split, one Isarin per Mincha, he's good. Okay? So let's recap. We discussed the Mishnah of donating wine, donating Menachos Nesachim as a separate donation that works. Oil was a machlokes. Spoke about the dearness of the ani and Hashem, how Hashem appreciates his efforts, his sacrifice, his nefesh ki sakriv mincha. We spoke about a fellow donated a mincha or many menachos, and how we're meant to interpret his expressions in a way which covers his obligations. All the best to you, and atzlacha.